Good morning, everyone. I want to keep things moving along. It really is a great honor to stand here and present Dr. Pollock, who I've known for many, many years. And it turns out we actually went to medical school together, but we were off by a couple of years, so we didn't actually know each other back then. But Tim is our president. And when you put something like this together, if you take a little time, you get to know someone, because we know Tim and we know all his accomplishments, and yes, I will show you those because they are very impressive. But when you get to actually know the core of someone, the important things beyond what we talk about most of the time in meetings like this, I think it's a really special thing, and probably of all the talks I've ever had to put together, this was the most fun. So really, my question was, who is Tim Pawlik? Well, Tim Pawlik is definitely an educated guy. I couldn't believe how much he's gone through in his career to educate himself. Of course, he has a bachelor's. Of course, he has an MD from Tufts. He trained in general surgery at Michigan. He did a surgical oncology research fellowship at MGH, where I think his greatest accomplishment was meeting his wife. The only deficiency I could find was his surgical oncology fellowship at MD Anderson. He has a fellowship in medical ethics from Harvard. He has a master's in theology from Harvard Divinity School. Did anybody know that? He also has a PhD, and even though he's just the chair and an active surgeon and researcher, he's currently getting an MBA. So he is, I don't know that you can actually fit this on a line. I kind of made up some of these letters here. I don't know what a master's of theology is, but I kind of made that up. You can barely fit his name on a line. He is an educated guy. And when I say that he's an accomplished guy, I say that in all seriousness. I mean, he is an amazingly accomplished academic surgeon. He started at Johns Hopkins, where he rapidly rose in the ranks to become a full professor at the Cameron Chair in Surgery and the chief of surgical oncology. And as all of, or most of you know, he moved to Ohio State to assume the chair of surgery there, where he's also the Urban Meyer III and Shelley Meyer Chair of Cancer Research. Interestingly, he's the treasurer of the practice plan, so he knows how to watch the money as well. I guess that's the MBA. He has recruited 60 new faculty members. He has improved their NIH funding, or under his guidership, they've improved their NIH funding to number 4, and obviously are a top-level residency program. Reading Tim Pawlik's CV is a very humbling experience. I feel like I've accomplished a few things in my academic career, but Tim puts most of us to shame. Over 1,300 peer-reviewed papers, over 100 book chapters, over 500 invited talks. He's the editor of many of the journals that you and I read all the time, the past president of the AAS and the member of many societies. And it's easy to list this, but anybody who's ever accomplished any of these things, published a paper, presented a paper, written a book chapter, and knows just how much work that goes into all of that, understands how much commitment this is. This is truly extraordinary and truly a special thing. And I make a little joke about the size of his CV, but it is an impressive thing that deserves nothing but the utmost respect. But of course, that's just Tim at work. So I really want to know who the real Tim Pawlik was. Is he just a poor planner? There's a famous story that Tim actually got on a plane, flew to Sao Paulo, didn't actually have his visa intact, and was sent back home. That's a nightmare of mine, actually. This picture was quite interesting. I will never reveal who sent me this picture, but you might be able to figure this out. He apparently likes to play golf with a dress on. I don't know where that comes from. He can tell you about that story, but that's Dr. Cameron and Dr. Matt Weiss with him as well. No matter who you talk to, his parents, his wife, his brothers and sisters, his colleagues, number one is Tim is a New England sports fan. I mean, it's unbelievable. He knows statistics, he knows every score. I don't know where he finds time to watch the games. I don't have time to watch games anymore, but he watches them. He must do it in the middle of the night or something. And there's some pictures with him with his younger brother and father at Patriots games, and it's something I think very passionate to Tim and his family, actually. But when I talked to Tim, I said, gee, Tim, you're so into all this stuff. And I was a little athletic when I was younger, and I thought, oh, he must be an athlete. And I asked him, I said, Tim, what sports did you play? He said, the only team I was on was the math team. So I guess not so much. And talking to his sister, his older sister, I guess they're about a year apart, is a famous story that apparently they make fun of him for constantly. I think they were playing football, or I'm not exactly sure what they were playing, but Tim got tackled pretty hard, probably by his sister, and hit the ground pretty hard, and everybody ran up to him and said, "Oh my God, Tim, are you okay?" And he stood up and said, "Yeah, but my pants are stained." And apparently that's still the biggest issue for Tim Pollock, his pants stain. He does have a nice suit on today. I did want to point out, though, that although he's got a Boston Red Sox hat on and a football shirt, you know, those pants are awfully high, and those socks are awesome 1970s knee-high socks. Actually, this picture to me was very similar to the pants stain story. Hair is perfect, he's sitting in the water, but boy, most kids are just diving in and wet and a mess. Tim is perfectly normal. There's not a bit of water on him except at his ankles, keeping it very, very neat and clean. And his pants are still too high. This is a famous picture in the Pollock family books. You can't really tell which one is his older sister and which one is Tim. I think they forgot to cut his hair for a while, but that is Tim right there. I have no idea what to do with this picture. I don't know what he's wearing. It's green, he's got a bow tie on, and some sort of hat. I have no idea what this is, but I'm going to ask him later. Actually, I think Tim was the perfect boy. When you talk to his family, he was just a wonderful kid to have around the house for sure. But this picture, to me, was pretty funny. He just has the perfect bowl cut. He has the Cub Scout uniform, the perfect display, and I mean, you can see the halo. I mean, it's just unbelievable. He's just, you can hear the horns playing. But Tim Pollock definitely got it together. I mean, this is just an awesome picture. I'm not sure what he's graduating from, but he is on top of the world right here. I mean, he's got the mullet, this business in the front, the party in the back. He's got something drawn across his shoulders. He's in the pose. I mean, this is a man ready to take on the world. I love this picture. I did get a few other pictures from some of his colleagues, and just stop looking at Mike Chody for a second and look to the corner here. I mean, this is enough questions about Mike Chody here. Is Mike here? But if you look at Tim, this is when he started at Hopkins. And I mean, he looks like he's about 15 years old. So I think he graduated medical school when he was about 16. But Tim Pollock is definitely a family man. This is really when I started to understand who Tim really is. He is beloved by his family, by his parents, and by his brothers and sisters. And they are as they often call each other, a loud Irish Catholic family. But as someone from an Italian-American family, loud means you love each other. And that is something you can feel immediately when you talk to his family members. Tim is a devoted husband. Megan's here with him today. Again, this sort of looks like he's about 12 when he got married, but they met at MGH. Megan was a traveling nurse. Tim was doing a research fellowship, and to see them together is nothing short of awesome. Their devotion to each other and their family is inspiring at the very least. He's also a devoted father, and I truly have no idea where he gets the time, but to talk to him and his family, he's always planning vacations apparently, adventures, does not miss events at the level that we all should aspire to, and truly a devoted and beloved father. Tim is enthusiastic, and I just love this picture because look at that look of determination. He's just biking, and they're just daring. They're daring anybody to challenge Tim to bike anyone longer. And I think if you ever got into a battle with Tim Pollock, you're going to lose because he is an enthusiastic and devoted man. I did wonder what he can't possibly have any free time. But apparently what he does with his free time is watch Law & Order. I have no idea where that comes from, but Megan told me that. I don't even get that, but that's what he does. He is also an AHPBA leader, and we are really great to have him here. And I thank Chuck Vollmer for this picture many years ago, which I've been saving for a long time. If you ever wonder what we're doing when we go on these trips to South America, I don't know that I was doing this, but Tim eats ants. But he is definitely an AHPBA leader, and I joke here, but he's led this society and inspired us all. So who is Tim Pollock? He's a beloved son, a devoted husband, a family man. To say that he's an accomplished surgeon and a consummate academic is an understatement. He is definitely a leader. He is not afraid to lead. He brings up things that move us forward all the time. And it really gives me great pleasure to introduce Tim as the president of the AHPBA. And I'm not going to end there. Hold your applause. I really struggled with how to finish all of this. Obviously, some joking and funny old pictures and some serious review of an accomplished surgeon's CV. But I did get an email from his parents, and I have to say, reading this email almost brought a tear to my eye, and I mean that very seriously, because I think it sums up really who he is, and I'm going to read it to you. Our son, Timothy Pawlik, has always been hardworking and dedicated to his profession and his patients. He also loves his sports teams. They always have to put that in there, especially the Patriots. As parents, we are very proud of what Timothy has accomplished professionally, and I love how short that sentence is. Most important is how he lives his life as a dedicated son, husband, and father of his 4 beautiful children. Love, Mom and Dad. And if that doesn't give you chills, I don't know what will. Tim, it's really an honor. Welcome and congratulations.
Well, I want to thank Mike for that introduction and that picture he showed of me on the Peloton. I want you to know that I came in dead last in that contest. So if you want to take me on, put me on a bike. So I'm extremely excited to be here today with all of you in person. Like Charlie Bucket in the movie Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, I feel like every day I get a Wonka bar. And every day I open that bar, and what I find is a golden ticket. Right? I just feel like I am so lucky to be here with all of you. And I've really led a charmed life, and I want to recognize my mom and my dad, Carmen Chester, or as he goes, Michael Pollock. These are 2 wonderful individuals. Neither of my parents went to college. My mom came from a poor family. She wanted to go to college, but she did not have the opportunity. My dad had a little bit more means and actually went to college for a week, hated it, and dropped out, and then went back into the family business. He is a Polish used car salesman. So as you can imagine, I have heard every Pollock joke and used car salesman joke that you could ever imagine. But I learned a lot from these 2 people. From my mother, I learned that when you have an opportunity, never take it for granted and seize it. She wanted to go to college, but she couldn't. From my dad, I learned hard work. He was a self-made individual. He had his own small business selling used cars and being a mechanic, and working hard is so important. And then the other thing I learned is to treat everyone the same. Treat everyone with respect. Everyone has something to offer. These are my 3 siblings. I'm one of 4. And my siblings have taught me a lot. We all have crazy families, and I got some crazy siblings, and they're very, very different, as my family knows. And what my siblings have taught me, number 1, is to tolerate differences in opinions and difference in perspective. Number 1, make sure that when food is served, you're quick to eat it, or there won't be anything left. But also, in all seriously, it's about not putting yourself first all the time, right? There has to be give and take. And I learned a lot from my 3 siblings. And I also learned the importance of family. And I've been blessed to have my own beautiful family that's here today. I was going to get verklempt, as they say, as I talk about them. But I'm really blessed to have a wonderful family. We were just recently up in New England, and we all got our Red Sox paraphernalia on and celebrated a great game. Unfortunately, the Red Sox went 3 for 4 against the Yankees, and we saw the 1 game that they lost. But I do have 4 beautiful children that are here today. And I think, for me, my children keep me humble. And I once just had a conversation with a surgeon, actually a chair, who said that, surgeons shouldn't be humble because that's a sign of weakness. And I couldn't disagree with that person more. If you look at the etymology of the word humble, from the Latin, it's humus. It means grounded, being grounded. And for me, that's what my children do. In fact, my son said, I only want to come to your talk if there's going to be food there and you keep it to less than an hour. And so I have 4 wonderful children. I have Katie P., as we call her, Molly Magoo, Emma Beester, and then Mikey P. And so I love you guys so much, and you mean the world to me. And then as they say, behind every good kid is a great mom. And I'm incredibly lucky to be married to Megan. I say to people at work, I say, you think you got it difficult, you're not married to me, right? I demand a lot of people who I work with. I know I'm high maintenance, and for those of you in the audience who work with me, they're like, yeah, he's being honest. I love the honesty. But, Megan does so much for me. I've learned and grown so much as a person because of my relationship with this individual. Megan is the kindest person I know, and she could become friends with the devil. And she does all the work in the family. People will say, oh, Megan, we're amazed that you do so much. You have 4 kids. And Megan always says, I don't have 4 kids. I have 6 kids, because that Pollock guy, he's like twins. And that's why I'm the largest rock on the bottom. But really, Megan is the glue that holds our family together. And Megan, I love you so very, very much. All of us have benefited so much from mentors over the course of my life, and I briefly just want to take a couple of minutes to recognize those mentors, whether it be Mike Mulholland, who taught me about equanimity when I was a resident at Michigan, or whether it was Ken Tanabe or Chip Shoba, who offered me the opportunity to do research in their lab at MGH, or the amazing people at MD Anderson, Rafe Pawlik, and I see Steve Curley in the audience, and Doug Evans, who taught me how to be an oncologist. I'm forever grateful for all of your mentorship. And then the wonderful people at Hopkins, and in particular, I'd like to call out Julie Freischlag, who is my chair, and was the person who took a chance on me and hired me as a new faculty member at Hopkins. I want to call out 3 individuals in particular who have been particularly meaningful to me, and one person is Nick Votea. Nick isn't here today, but Nick has been such an incredible mentor to me since my time at Anderson, and over the entire course of my career, I'll be forever in his debt. And then also Mike Chody. I think Mike is here. Mike was my first partner and taught me so much about clinical medicine. And Mike was the first person to put me on the publication committee here at the AHPBA and started me on this wonderful journey with this association. And then John Cameron, who really accepted me in from outside of the Hopkins family into Hopkins and mentored me. I'll be forever in John's debt. Well, 5 years ago, I made the move to Ohio State, and Chris Ellison, who many of you know, was the interim dean at the time, and I took the leap to move to this wonderful institution. And as Mike alluded to, this is probably the thing I'm most proud of in my career, is the journey that we have been on at Ohio State over the last 5 years. I'm incredibly lucky and blessed to work with this amazing group of leaders at The Ohio State University, both our clinical leaders and our administrative team. And as Coach Woody Hayes once said, you win with people. You win with people. And I am just thrilled with the people that I work with at Ohio State. I am lucky and blessed to be surrounded with such a great team. And the journey that we have been on at Ohio State, I think, truly has been transformative over the last 5 years, as I believe, and I'll say it unabashedly here, that we have built one of the premier academic surgery programs in the United States, moving into the top 4 for NIH ranking in funding, and then just recently last week being recognized as Doximity as a top 10 residency program in the United States. And as I mentioned, the people at Ohio State, and all of you out here and all your home institutions, we really got to see what people were like and how they really shine during COVID-19. And I just want to recognize all of the individuals at my home institution for all of their hard work. I also want to recognize all of my research fellows, and this has been a great group of folks who I've so enjoyed working with over the years. And I'll be forever in your debt for how much I've learned from you. I also want to recognize my HBB partners at Ohio State, Dr. Cloyd, Dr. Ijaz, Dr. Dilhoff, Dr. Sung, and then Dr. Manelchuk. I'm blessed to have such wonderful clinical partners. And then I'd like to recognize the AHPBA and the leadership, being part of the executive committee here over the last number of years has been a wonderful experience, be part of all that has been accomplished in our association. And in particular, I'd like to recognize the officers who I had the privilege to serve with over the past years, Dr. D'Angelica, Dr. Doyle, and Dr. Cleary. I really enjoyed getting to know each of you. And then I also want to recognize Jill and Margie, our management team, who really makes the wheel go round, as I say. I was joking with Megan and Jill and Margie the other night. Megan's my wife, and Jill and Margie have been my work wives over the last year, and I'll be forever in your debt. And I'll be forever in all of your debt. I always say that one of the best things about academic medicine, are the friendships and all the people that you get to know. So the AHPB really amazes me because of all of you, the great people who make up our association. Now, I could pull any of your CVs and find an impressive list of accomplishments, but what I've personally discovered during my time over the last year is just all of your remarkable energy, commitment, and creativity. As you know, this past year, we were limited to digital meetings and online encounters, yet all of you continue to show up and actively engage with our association. We quickly adapted with online webinars to discuss cases and share ideas. Our case-based webinars occurred routinely on a monthly basis and covered a wide range of topics, including COVID-19 and HPV surgery, controversies in transplant oncology, surgical innovation, and many other important topics. I want to thank all of those individuals who helped organize these events. The attendance of the webinars was superb, frequently topping over 150 or 200 participants. It was so gratifying to see how these webinars allowed us to remain together apart. We also continue to cultivate our outreach with virtual chapter meetings in Central and South America. While we would have preferred to be in person with our good colleagues from down south, the pandemic did not decrease our enthusiasm. It simply altered our approach. These virtual chapter meetings allowed us to stay connected with other members from these regions. I particularly want to thank Mariano Jimenez for his hard work ensuring that the relationship with our chapters and our colleagues in Central and South America stayed strong and remained a priority for the AHPBA during COVID-19. I know that this year was not easy for any of us, yet I was so impressed by the resiliency, creativity, and engagement of all of you. Because you showed up for the AHPBA, we were able to continue to improve in many important ways. All of you helped us make progress towards our mission, which is, and I am quoting here, to advance HPV care to improve patient lives. That mission is the reason we do what we do. It is our why. And while I know it seems like a pretty straightforward sentence, it packs a lot into just a few words, particularly those 3 words: improve patient lives. Think about how many layers of action that represents, and how each of us can serve that mission by lending our own unique talents and perspectives to the AHPBA initiatives. When I started my own career, I had what I thought was a pretty similar why. I wanted to become a surgical oncologist because cancer has touched my family. My family has the BRCA2 gene, and many of my family members have died from cancer, as I'm sure many of yours. I wanted to do what I could do to beat this terrible disease. That's a pretty good why, and it still motivates me today. But if it's my only why is to cure patients with cancer, what happens on the days that I don't? I've since learned that medicine is not just a scorecard of supposed wins and losses, and we need to reframe our approach in order to offer patients hope to improve their lives. For me, being a surgeon is also about compassion, kindness, and helping patients and their families live with a disease or transition from sickness to recovery or life to death. It is also about sharing knowledge, shouldering challenges together, and teaching the next generation of surgeons. Equally as important as my why is my how. There's a physician adage that notes, the next patient you see might be the 25th of your day, but always remember that you are the first doctor of their day. That's a powerful statement, and you could substitute the word patient in that sentence for student, spouse, son, husband, depending on the interaction. Throughout my career, I've been blessed to have many individuals adopt a gracious attitude towards our relationship so that I could learn to become a better doctor, mentor, educator, and person. Here at the AHPBA, that includes so many of you. I've always looked for outside insight beyond medicine as well to help me strengthen my resolve during difficult times without losing any measure of compassion or empathy, which I believe every great surgeon must have. One particularly inspiring person for me is Admiral Jim Stockdale, who was an American military officer. Stockdale was the highest-ranking officer in prison in the Hanoi Hilton, a brutal prisoner of war camp in Vietnam. During his 8 years of confinement, he was tortured over 20 times. He had no reason to expect release and no promise of ever seeing his family again. Yet he survived. How did he maintain faith that he would be released even as the years dragged on? Jim Collins, who wrote the bestseller From Good to Great, gave the Admiral's approach a name, the Stockdale Paradox. And he argues that it is also the best way for other individuals and organizations to create positive change. The Stockdale Paradox is the concept that productive change begins when you accept the challenge you face, while also maintaining unwavering faith that you can and will prevail in the end, regardless of any difficulties. It's important to recognize that this unwavering faith is different than blind optimism, which can simply be a positive outlook without parameters. Instead, it's about finding an intensely pragmatic approach to solving problems. So how can we apply the Stockdale Paradox as individuals? And how has the AHPBA already applied the principles of the Stockdale Paradox? One, by being honest, by admitting reality even when it is difficult. Two, by finding a path forward based on that accepted starting point, always recognizing that it may not be easy, but it is possible. I am convinced this is the best way to approach our careers and to help our patients prepare for and feel positive about their journey, even if it is not the script that they would have written for themselves. I also think the principle of the Stockdale Principle helped the AHPBA tackle issues of diversity, equity, and inclusion this past year. The reality is that the AHPBA is not a diverse association. It is not as diverse as we want it to be. It is not as diverse as we need it to be. We pinpointed our current reality and have embarked on a plan for long-term change. For years, organizations worldwide have discussed diversity, but I believe society is ready just now for accepting the actual reality of its impact. I am not a minority. I am not underrepresented in medicine, and I most definitely do not have all the answers. In fact, I do not have many of the answers or any of the answers, which is exactly why inviting more people under the tent and supporting their growth will better our association, better our knowledge, and certainly better the care of our patients. Here at the AHPBA, the goal of our diversity initiatives has been to align the AHPBA with policies to decrease inequities in healthcare and to rally members to advocate for diversity and inclusion within their own communities. And our purpose is, and again I quote, to condemn racial injustice and contribute to actionable change as healthcare leaders. Dr. Rebecca Minter, during her year as president, elevated the diversity conversation and helped us see the potential of the diversity bonus. To help us move forward, over the past year, we held meetings where leadership participated in a series of intentional conversations about implicit bias and racism with our Black AHPBA members. I want to thank Drs. Johnson, Clark, Francis, and Lee. After listening to their experiences and becoming more informed about the challenges faced by underrepresented minorities in our association, we made an organized-wide pledge to become part of the solution to address systemic racism and discrimination. As such, this year, we'd established the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee, chaired by Dr. Clark, to help us develop, implement, and sustain strategies that will improve education, training, mentorship, and recruitment among our URM ranks. The newly established DEI committee has already made progress by creating educational programs, partnering with the research committee to advance racial disparities research, promoting women in HPB surgery, and focusing on grassroots efforts to increase diversity and representation in HPB surgery. We also issued public statements following the murders of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and Ahmaud Arbery, and countless other victims of discrimination and injustice, to call for change and an end to racial discrimination. Importantly, the AHPBA and the AHPB Foundation also joined together to establish a travel grant for URM trainees so they can spend 1 week visiting qualified HPB surgery programs to train with an established AHPBA member. This valuable program will give URM trainees early exposure to mentorship and networking to advance their HPB surgery career, as well as their involvement in our association. And to support further inclusivity, the AHPBA Foundation has also made a commitment to appoint a URM member and a URM non-member to its board. I thank Dr. Callery and the board for these efforts. I also want to strongly encourage all of you to attend the DEI Call to Action session that's scheduled for tomorrow at 8 a.m. I, along with many others from many different institutions, will be discussing why DEI initiatives matter and how these efforts have changed our own home organizations for the better. For example, at Ohio State, we recognize the shortcomings that result from not having enough women in roles of surgical leadership. And in turn, we established the Olga Jonason Professorship in Surgery to recognize, encourage, and enable female surgeons to realize their professional and research goals. I am proud that Dr. Carrie Sims, our Division Chief of Trauma, is the inaugural recipient of this honor. As HPB surgeons, we should all be aware of Dr. Jonason's legacy. Olga Jonason was a renowned transplant surgeon who became the first woman in the United States to lead an academic surgery department when she was named chair of surgery at The Ohio State University in 1987. In the 34 years since her appointment, there have been just 34 other female chairs of surgery nationwide, 24 currently, and luckily a few of them in the audience are as our AHPBA members. So we are making progress, but it is slow, incremental progress. We need to remain purposeful with our strategic DEI efforts to continue to transform culture and build stronger, more diverse teams, which will drive innovation, discovery, and improved patient care. To this point, this year, we established a no mantle policy at the HPBA meeting. I want to thank, perhaps ironically, a man for helping make this happen. Dr. Ajay Maker and the program committee did a fantastic job putting together a meeting that is top-notch and inclusive, providing proof yet again that efforts to increase excellence and diversity is a both-and proposition, not an either-or fallacy. Of course, men are still allowed to participate. We're simply just not allowed to dominate. Our hope is that by ending mantles, the AHPBA will foster more inclusive thinking and actions. It should also help us uncover our own personal blind spots, decrease mansplaining, and promote a wide range of opinions and life perspectives that will enrich our meeting. Later today, we will be celebrating and discussing the important role that women play in HPB surgery and the AHPBA. Please be sure to join our HPB heroines for what I know will be an outstanding session. Like all of you, I believe we are obligated as both medical professionals and a community to address disparities and to help move our organization to use its collective voice to foster more DEI awareness. We must remain vigilant, and we must continue to be purposeful and strategic. And I want to emphasize that. We must be purposeful and strategic in our approach to diversity, equity, and inclusion in our association. My hope and our hope is that by serving as an example to other influential healthcare organizations and societies, that they too will join the AHPBA in this charge and adopt similar initiatives to eliminate inequities in medicine. Of course, I know that the continual push for change can be difficult. But I also think that is one of the strengths of the AHPBA and HPB surgeons. We always look for and in fact enjoy the tough surgical case, the difficult situation, the hard task. As HPB surgeons, we look for ways to stretch ourselves, and we never back down from a challenge. Ryan Holiday's book, The Obstacle is the Way, highlights this point and emphasizes that when you consider every obstacle an opportunity to get better, grow stronger, and become tougher yourself, there's only potential upside. Something about you and those around you can improve through every situation. The book draws its inspiration from Stoicism, the ancient Greek philosophy of enduring pain or adversity with perseverance and resilience. Stoics focus on the things they can control, let go of everything else, and turn every new obstacle into an opportunity to get better, stronger, tougher. As Marcus Aurelius put it nearly 2,000 years ago, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Holiday distinguishes between proactive people, those who focus on what they can do and influence, from reactive people who waste energy on things beyond their control. He also describes what he calls the circle of concern and the circle of influence. And this concept has personally helped me prioritize how I spend my time. The circle of concern includes the whole range of things that keep you up at night: world hunger, global warming, politics, perhaps even that favorite show on Netflix, which was just canceled. Our lists can be very different within our circle of concern, yet our realities are the same. Things in our circle of concern are not always, and quite frequently are beyond our control. This can make your circle of concern paralyzing. You can worry about these things, but many items can't be changed just because you want them changed. On the other hand, our circle of influence is much smaller, and this is where our power lies. It includes those things that we can change. If we focus our efforts here, we can drive change and have impact as effective leaders. In contrast, if we spend all our energy trying to fix things within our circle of concern where we don't always have control, then our circles of influence will shrink. We will drain our energy, and we will be perceived as ineffective and negative, no matter how hard we work. Leaders have a responsibility to have a positive impact on their circle of influence. Part of this responsibility is to be, as Admiral Stockdale put it, realistic, yet eternally optimistic. Anyone can complain. Anyone can find problems. Leaders provide an inspirational vision as well as practical tools and solutions to move the team forward. One of my leadership heroes is Ernest Shackleton. Shackleton's skills as a leader were demonstrated during the Endurance expedition, when his leadership was crucial in saving the lives of all 28 crew members after his ship was lodged and then crushed in the ice in the Antarctic in 1914. Shackleton was an inspiration, instilling a belief that the marooned men would survive, and all of them did. Incredibly, the crew endured 2 years of the most unbearable conditions at the end of the earth, much worse than any surgical residency or fellowship, and yet they never lost faith. Even though his expedition, judged by its initial objective, was a colossal failure because his ship never reached the Antarctica, Shackleton can serve as a role model. As often noted, leaders are defined by times of crisis. Shackleton kept his crew focused on the future. The ship was gone. Previous plans were irrelevant. Now the goal was for the team to get home safely, and he improvised, adapted, and used every resource at his disposal. As such, we can all learn from Shackleton's experience. In particular, I believe there are 5 take-home messages. Number 1, model and inspire optimism. Shackleton believed in his mission and his team. His optimism was contagious. He intentionally made decisions to inspire optimism in his crew. Number 2, develop a clear shared plan. Everyone who joined the Antarctic expedition understood the purpose. They were selected in part for their interest and excitement in that purpose. Clarity around purpose has been shown time and time again to be the most important factor to impact a team's success. 3, build unity and commitment within the team. Shackleton valued hard work and loyalty above all else. Yet he did not expect this automatically. He intentionally fostered it. The team's well-being was his top priority, higher than the mission. He knew without his team, they could never reach the goal. 4, create a plan, an alternate plan, and be flexible. After the team left Patience Camp, they traveled in 3 lifeboats looking for land that they had not seen in 15 months. Over that 15-day journey, Shackleton changed the plan 4 times. Leaders always need to be open to new information and adjust to meet the end goal. And 5, make the tough decision. Shackleton continually made difficult decisions throughout the expedition. For instance, when the ship arrived in Argentina after crossing the Atlantic, the cook got drunk and disorderly one night, and Shackleton fired him. Shackleton knew that that man was not a good fit for the team. He then hired a new cook who proved to be an excellent addition. I firmly believe that the AHPBA has an important role in empowering our members to expand their circle of influence, learn how to turn obstacles into opportunities, and grow as leaders. In essence, we have a duty to identify and cultivate the future Shackletons of our association. To move this goal forward, as well as broaden our circle of future AHPBA leaders, this year we established the AHPBA Leadership Academy. This is a new leadership and mentorship opportunity for AHPBA members within 5 to 7 years in practice who want to pursue AHPB leadership opportunities. This year, our inaugural Academy class of 6 AHP members was selected from an open call for candidates. The Academy members attend leadership committee meetings, attend our Executive Council and AHPB Foundation meetings, as well as participate in routine seminars with AHPB leaders inside the AHPBA, as well as outside guests, to discuss topics such as finances, team building, strategy, marketing, and other core leadership skills needed to be successful future leaders of our association. With this initiative, the AHPBA is purposely creating a pipeline of capable, young, diverse members who will be well positioned to lead our organization into the future. I am equally excited about the creation of our Junior Surgery Committee this year. The objective of this new committee is to support the integration of surgeons in training as well as faculty within the first 5 years of practice into the AHPBA. I would like to thank Tim Verland and Tim Newhook for their efforts in establishing this committee. The committee will facilitate collegiality, collaboration, and mentorship, and it will help us develop leadership programs for junior HPB surgeons who will play critical roles in our future. Specifically, the committee is charged with organizing early career webinars, workshops, as well as establishing a junior surgeon's toolkit. I want to emphasize that no matter if you are a junior surgeon, a senior surgeon, a nurse practitioner, advanced practice provider, fellow, resident, or medical student, never underestimate the potential of your impact. As Robert Quinn has noted, effective change leaders understand a profound but elusive lesson. Transformative change begins on the inside. If we want to positively influence others, we need to do what we are afraid to do. We have to have the courage to put the collective good ahead of our ego needs. Doing this is the essence of leadership. As we strive to be a positive influence on others and our association, we must find the courage to be positive deviants, to do good things that are outside the conventional culture. Research has shown that the departure from expected behavior can have incredible, far-reaching, and positive effects. Outliers often succeed against all odds, figuring out problems that others are unable or perhaps unwilling to even try to solve. Malcolm Gladwell popularized this concept of outliers in his book by the same name. Gladwell asked the question, what makes high achievers different? You probably have heard of the 10,000-hour rule, which was popularized by Gladwell in this book. As Gladwell tells it, the rule goes like this. It takes 10,000 hours of intensive practice to achieve mastery of complex skills. Many of you in this audience are already masters. master surgeons, master educators, master researchers, master administrators. Others of us are still on our journey towards mastery. Yet we all need to ask ourselves, where will I focus my 10,000 hours? What will I seek to master? And how will I use these skills to drive change? I encourage all of you to look for places where you can have impact, because we each have unique talents that can transform not only the AHPBA, but also our individual medical centers, departments, families, neighborhoods, and certainly the lives of our patients. Gladwell asks us to reframe the way we think about the world, to look beyond our intuition and concentrate our resources on a few key areas. After all, the world may seem like an immovable, implacable place, but it is not. With the slightest push in just the right place, it can be tipped. The key is finding the right place that matches your master talents so that you can have the biggest impact on the most people. I hope you will seek out those potential tipping points through your participation in the AHPBA. How can you reimagine the way you participate with the AHPBA, or perhaps in the lives of your family, colleagues, and patients, so that you could focus on the biggest and most impactful priorities? How can you and how can I unleash our full potential to serve the AHPBA in our stated collective goal to advance HPB care to improve patient lives? To date, the AHPBA has accomplished so much. Whether it be the growth of our chapters in Central and South America that was first envisioned by Nick Vote and Mark Callery, the humanitarian efforts driven by Garzi Zabari, the ultrasound courses led by Ellen Hagopian that have trained hundreds of our members, the amazing education opportunities for our fellows promoted by Rohan Jeharaha and Tara Kent, the patient education initiatives championed by Felipe Coimbra, or the refresh of our strategic plan led by Chuck Vollmer. The AHPBA has achieved an incredible amount and has had an impact spanning all of HPB surgery throughout North and South America. As I step aside as a leader in the AHPBA, I am more excited than ever about the future of our association. The future is bright and the possibilities are limitless. As Ishtar Khan noted, we are the product of what we think. Every process starts or emerges first from thinking. Thinking is the ignition that starts us. Thinking is the fuel that puts us on a path. Thinking is what leads us forward and gives us the ability to choose a path. Now, on which path we put ourselves, which direction we move our lives, that all depends on our thinking. If we think big, then the possibilities open up. Our mind will be able to find ways to greatness. As such, I challenge myself and I challenge all of you. For the betterment of HPB surgery and our patients, let's continue to push each other to think big about what the AHPBA will choose to tackle next. What will be our association's priorities? What will be the way that the AHPBA continues to have maximal impact? I look forward to seeing the future that the AHPBA helps create to push the frontiers of HPB education, research, clinical delivery, and patient care. It will be amazing. Thank you all for allowing me the honor to serve as your AHPBA president this past year. I appreciate everyone's support, partnership, and most importantly, your friendship. So I leave you with sincere gratitude and one last piece of advice. Dream big, think little. Find your purpose, define your circle of influence, hone your leadership skills, and let's continue to make a difference and have a lasting impact on HPB surgery for the betterment of each other and our patients. Thank you.